extra punch. Each rocket is equipped with 2 warheads. The first warhead takes out the standoff armor. The second warhead penetrates the internal armor, exploding into the crew compartment. These missiles are guided by wires, so their control signals can't be jammed by the enemy. A thin wire trails behind the rocket, allowing the operator to guide the missile directly to target. Packed with armor-penetrating ammunition, the Hellcat was state-of-the-art in 1944. American designers thought its speed would give the Hellcat 9 lives. And sometimes, it did.
It was so maneuverable, and it had such less mass to push. Even its tracks are thinner. That's less inertia for the engine to overcome and spin those tracks again and again and again. It gave it such a tremendous speed, a remarkable speed.
Don Breinholt was attached to the 603rd Tank Destroyer Battalion of the 6th Armored Division. On one mission in France, he was ordered to take out enemy positions.
We cut off the road and got out the field. I was the 2nd destroyer at that time. Something prompted me to make a command. I said, "Phipps, give her a hard left." And he did. He gave her a hard left. And at that same time, I saw a muzzle flash of a German gun. And I can still see the tracer, the smoke of the tracer as it went by. And I felt like I could reach out and touch that shell as it went by. It was that close. The maneuverability of the tank was immediately, you made a left-hand turn. It didn't take but just a second. That gunner had a dead beat on us, I know.
Hellcat saw heavy fighting all the way from France into Berlin. No wonder some of the survivors are so battered. But in the right hands, a piece of junk can become a piece of art. Randy's duplicated the original mud flaps. Now it's time to see if they fit.
How'd they come out? Pretty good, I believe.
That's a double check before you weld that thing.
Commit it to the welder.
I don't want to be cutting it back off.
Well, let's compare them.
What do you think?
Looks good. Looks just like it.
Paint it, and we'll see if we can get her on.
In battle, nothing was faster than the Hellcat. But that speed came at a tremendous price. To make the Hellcat as fast as possible, American engineers gave it a very thin hull. So thin that heavy machine gun fire could cut right through it. Unlike the Hellcat, modern tanks combine speed and protection. The M1's armor is a top-secret composite of steel and ceramics. Strengthened with depleted uranium, the M1's armor is almost indestructible.
We had a tank in Iraq that took 50 RPG hits, and none of them penetrated. They pulled the tank back into the assembly area, and it had, RPGs darted in there like a cushion.
With the Hellcat, American tank designers sacrificed protection for speed. But that speed could mean the difference between life and death. In the middle of winter, up against a huge German offensive, the lightning-fast Hellcat would save the day and help win one of the biggest battles of the Second World War.
The main difficulty in trying to restore all this stuff is getting a lot of the little detail items. The major components are fairly easily obtainable. You're just about stuck with what you have, and luckily a lot of times stuff is really good. Get a lot of satisfaction because I can make this dash look just like brand new almost, and it's something that people really notice. The paint on the tank doesn't really matter, but when they look inside and see all these nice little red circuit breakers and see all the little arrows and what it's for, people are a lot more impressed by something that has contrast to it instead of just green.
To get this Hellcat in driving condition, Roger Condren has to borrow the engine from the collection's other Hellcat. Fixing up the Hellcat highlights a life-saving design feature.
It's only 60 years old or so.
You don't always win a war with the biggest gun or the toughest tank. Sometimes it's all about who gets back into action first.
On the Hellcat, one of the nice features it did have was the ease of maintenance. It had a tailgate that dropped down in the back, so after about 20 minutes, a couple guys, you could have the engine all undone and ready to pull out. You could change an oil pump, oil lines, anything underneath that engine, very quickly. So maintenance on a Hellcat was extremely easy. Okay, there we go.
Rapid field repair gave the Allies an edge when they came face to face with superior German technology.
Remember, you're never fixing a tank in a place like this. You're fixing it in the mud, you're fixing it in the snow, you're fixing it under fire. If you can create a tank that any farm boy or city kid can fix reliably and get it back into action, it's going to save his life and it's going to win you a war.
Modern tank designers use the same principles of rapid field repair. The M1 Abrams Power Pack design is light years ahead of its World War II ancestors. Now, even the most sophisticated tank can be put back into battle in a matter of minutes.
If I need to replace an engine or pull an engine pack from the tank, I can do it in approximately 30 minutes with a good trained maintenance crew.
But even with all this smart design, basic maintenance is still a constant issue for any tank crew.
I spend about 75% of my time devoted to maintenance. It takes a lot of man hours to keep these tanks running and operational. But if you don't have your tanks running, then tanks can't get into the fight to help out the infantry.
There we go.
Roger only has a few days to get the M18 ready for the party.
Okay.
Easy access to the engine makes a big difference. The M18's engine is designed to slide on tracks for easy access. Originally built for airplanes, the Hellcat's engine was air-cooled.
The engines in the Hellcat are rather interesting. They are an aircraft radial. You don't have to mess with antifreeze and water and radiators getting shot out, and leaking fluids.
But when it came to crew comfort in wintertime, the M18's engine was no friend. Any winter battle in a Hellcat was like fighting inside of a refrigerator.
That fan is really sucking a lot of air. So whenever that engine's running, it's drawing outside air in through all the open hatches, and it can be very cold in the wintertime.
Don Breinholt commanded a Hellcat during the Second World War.
There was snow on the ground, and it was cold. It was down to, I'd say 0, or maybe below, I don't know. It was mighty cold to stay in there. And of course, our home was our M18. And a lot of times we would prefer to take our sleeping bag and sleep on the ground rather than stay inside the cold tank.
Fighting inside freezing tanks, Hellcat crews engaged in one of the most decisive battles of the entire war. December 1944. Pushed to the brink.